Welcome to 10 Songs, where each week we dive into the connections to the music that you love, from cover versions and little-known gems to those tracks you just skipped over. We'll show you the common thread across the music you love today and help you find a new favorite with just 10 songs. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of 10 Songs. I am Stephen Rose, one of your hosts, and with me again, usually as always, but not always, but this time absolutely, because it's a holiday episode, is Mr. Peter Rising. How are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm very well, Stephen. Very well indeed, and more often than not, I hope is the way that it will be in upcoming episodes. So glad to be here. Really happy to be in the holiday festive spirit. Some people do say that I look a bit like Santa Claus, so there you go.
You kind of do a little bit, yes. Although you're not wearing, as they say in the UK, a Christmas jumper today, so I'm a little disappointed. I do have one, but it's in the dry cleaners, as I had to wear it twice. But it's one I got at the Brian Setzer concert, so it has skulls and flames and a big guitar. And it is the only Christmas sweater I can bring myself to wear. As somebody at work said last week, I could never imagine you wearing your Christmas sweater until I saw this one. And I went, I'll take that as a compliment. And they're like, yes. And I wore flame shoes with it. So it was perfect.
Nice.
So,
I don't own a jumper, never mind a Christmas jumper. And that's
really
pretty much because I'm a very warm-blooded person. You will very rarely see me not in short sleeves. Because I'm just warm all the time. So
yeah, I have that problem. Unless I'm going out, and we got a lot of snow this past week, but unless I'm going out to go shovel snow or do something outside, I tend to stay away from them too, because then I just get all hot and sweaty. It's fine while I'm outside, but as soon as I get inside, it gets a little difficult. But today we have the Lego sweatshirt, so there we go. So that'll be
nice.
good.
Yeah, I like that. And I got Metallica today, which
Yeah.
gets a lot of love. A lot of people like this T-shirt. I wore it
Nice
at a conference recently, and even to the extent that I'll answer the door, and the mailman, or the postman, as we would say, commented on it and says, "Wow, great T-shirt, man. What's your favorite Metallica track?"
And what is your favorite Metallica track, I must ask?
Do you know what it is? This is to me, I love Metallica, but it's a completely random choice, really, in that I'm not a massive super Metallica nerd. So I'm probably going to say something really obvious like Enter Sandman.
Oh, no. If anything, you have to go back to the 1986 album Master of Puppets and pick any track from that album. It is their masterpiece. You could do Battery, you can do Master of Puppets, you can do Disposable Heroes, which is a great tune. You can do Orion, the instrumental on that album. Welcome Home Sanitarium, The Thing That Cannot Be. That is their best album. So go just take a day and listen to that album. For me, my favorite song for several reasons is Creeping Death, which I love because it is the only metal song I know about the story of Passover. It is about the 10 Commandments and the hand that comes down to kill the firstborn as part of that. So anytime you can associate Passover with a metal song, I love it. Plus, it's just such a great song. And she got that great and just great track. It's just such a fun track, and it's one of those, if you're driving the car, just makes you want to go faster. But we're not here to talk about Metallica today. It sounds like we should do a Metallica show, but today it is Christmas time. We're going to try to get the show out before Christmas, but it is 10 alternative Christmas songs, so staying away from the traditional Christmas songs and picking songs that were written by artists for Christmas or maybe covered by artists for Christmas, but slightly more alternative, a little more punky, a little more rocky at times, maybe poppy, but it is covering that, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. And in the spirit of, well, Christmas, but also in the spirit of our regular format on 10 songs, you've gone alternative Christmas songs. I've gone a bit rogue, and I've gone more traditional Christmas songs.
I wouldn't even go to, I mean, traditional is like your Bing Crosby and stuff like that. You picked more modern. I think that you did modern and I did alternative. So I think that this is good. I think, not what, Nana and Pop Pop used to listen to, but, or even our own parents, but more what we've grown up with. And for me, I go a little more to the edgy, but I think these are still modern ones.
Definitely.
I think these are not the traditional classics.
And many of these I would describe as cheesy pop songs that you will be on the radio every year at Christmas, and certainly in the UK. And I'll be interested to hear from some of our non-UK listeners for some that you may or may not have heard of. actually, because as we went through the list, I think you'd heard of most of them, Stephen, but there's a couple maybes that you weren't familiar with. So a few surprises, maybe.
Well, let's jump
Shall we get into it?
Who should go first this week? Would you like to go first?
Why not? Let's kick things off with...
You go first.
Well, my number one choice for a Christmas song...
By the way, are these in any order for you? Because they are not for me.
Not at all. These are in completely random order. Random order.
I like to ask that because sometimes there happen a few I'm like, I think we may want to do, like if we're doing a Metallica show, I would do top 10 going up to my favorite. So, any order. All right, go ahead. Sorry.
Any order. So the first one is Last Christmas by Wham.
Wham. Yes.
By Wham. George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley. The late George Michael, actually. I still can't believe we're saying that. And he must have been gone a good few years now. George Michael, an absolute genius. But this is a Christmas song that I think I'm correct, was pretty sort of famous.
Oh no, it was huge everywhere. In fact, there are a ton of covers of it. There's Gwen Stefani, there's Jimmy Eat World, Taylor Swift, Hilary Duff, Carly Rae Jepsen. I mean, I'm looking. There are so many folks who have redone it, but I agree. The original is quite the classic, and it was definitely very different than the stuff that they have done. And I think it's aged well. It's a song that is still works today, and I think that is, with so many people covering it, it's not that dramatically different from the original.
I agree, and there was another version by a female solo artist called Wigfield. I don't know if that name's on the list. She didn't have too many hits over here, and I think she was predominantly UK based, but she had a song called Saturday Night. It went something like Saturday night and I like the way you move, a very sort of dancey track. But she did a pretty reasonable cover of Last Christmas, which I remember from a Christmas party way back when. But it's one of those songs, Last Christmas, the original, that every Christmas and Christmas in the UK, I don't know if it's the same in the States, it gets more ridiculous every year, in that as soon as it's October, it seems to be fair game for putting up decorations and playing Christmas music in supermarkets or grocery stores, as you would say. And we actually had a competition at the place where I work, a little fun game for... you can win a prize if you don't hear Last Christmas. As soon as you hear it's being played somewhere, you're out of the game. And I thought I was doing quite well. I hadn't heard it yet, and I thought, I'm in for a chance of winning this. And then I took my oldest son to the dentist a couple of weeks ago, and sitting in the dentist waiting room, and there it was. And I was, damn it, I'm out of the game. I've heard Last Christmas.
Yeah, no, I start seeing the decorations now as early as like September in the stores to buy, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding. I'm waiting for our July 4th holiday that we'll walk in and there's the Christmas stuff. So they keep trying to make the season earlier and earlier every year.
Oh, they really do. And then when it's all over in January, you'll go into the stores and you'll see Easter eggs already.
Yes. Yep. No, it doesn't take long. Actually, it's all the Valentine's Day stuff. As soon as the day after Christmas, it's all the Valentine's Day stuff and Easter. Yeah, exactly. All right. So Last Christmas by Wham and Andrew Ridgeley. How high did this get on the charts? Do you know?
I do not know. I did not look that up. I'd be surprised if it wasn't pretty high, though. Let's take a look at that and find out where it charted. Last Christmas UK charts. You can look at US charts,
Wikipedia, which will tell me.
UK chart position. That's a good. Last Christmas
came out in 1984. It reached number 2 weeks in the position of number 13. Then in 85, it spent 7 weeks on the chart, so not bad. It got up to number 2.
Yeah.
And then what's interesting is in 2020, what year did he pass away? It got up to number 1, and now it's number 2 and number 1 again. Interesting. 6 weeks on the chart.
Yeah.
It has sold over 1.9 million copies, being the biggest selling single in UK chart history to not reach number 1 and the 10th best selling UK single overall, certified quadruple platinum in 2021. And December 19th peaked at number 1 on the UK official vinyl singles chart. Interesting. Following that week with a new record. And then they talk about all of the different covers of this that have been done over the years. It did hit number 1, though, in many other countries like Austria, Denmark, Finland, Germany, Italy, Latvia, go Latvia, Slovakia,
Yeah.
Slovenia, where I have been, Sweden, and like I said, finally hit the UK singles #1, but has not hit the #1 in the UK. Interesting. All right. Well, lots
Interesting,
about
yeah. Well,
the
George
song
Michael
Last
died
Christmas.
in. I, George Michael actually died on Christmas Day in
Did he
2016.
really?
Yeah,
I didn't know
25th
that.
of December 2016, age 53.
Wow. Okay.
There
Well,
you
let's
go.
listen to Last Christmas, and then we will
Let's
continue on with the rest of our 10 songs.
pop it on. Here it is, Last Christmas by Wham. All
All
right,
right.
Stephen,
And
what
for
have you
those
got?
of you who gave your heart and it was torn apart, we apologize. We don't mean to bring up any horrible bad memories. All right. #1, my first song. I'm again going a little even more non-traditional, but I'm starting with My Chemical Romance. All I Want for Christmas Is You. Now, there are a lot of great covers of this song, but I picked this one. For those who don't know, Gerard Way, who is the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, is also the writer of the Comic Umbrella Academy and the executive producer for the television series on Netflix. He also worked for Marvel Comics for quite a few years. He actually was the creator of Penny Parker, who is the Japanese with a robot Spider Man who was in Across the Spider Verse, and is the lead singer of My Chemical Romance, who broke up for a long time and they've just, I believe, gotten back together. So, why I like this version is it starts out super traditional, just his voice and just a piano, but they definitely make it their own. They have the staccato wah 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 that you hear in a lot of their songs, and of course, like that little whisper part that he does in a lot of his tracks, where he goes, he'll get like released off like, yeah, one of those.
Mhm.
But what I really like about it is the line, especially towards the end, he gets very, for lack of a better word, emo and very heartfelt, as they are an emo band. But the line, I just want you for my own, more than you could ever know. Make my wish come true. All I want for Christmas is you. And the way that he sings it towards the end, you really go, wow, if he really had one wish, this would be it. Because he sings his little emo heart out and makes you believe that this is the only thing in life that will make him happy. So, from 2009, from the Gift Wrapped compilation, I chose My Chemical Romance. Are you a fan at all of My Chemical Romance?
I'm not, if I'm honest. I have to admit, I listened to your playlist through and I saw it, and I've never quite got them for some reason. I don't know why, but I think I'm
I,
maybe missing the point a little. So
I'm an
wasn't quite my
intermediate fan.
cup of tea.
Yeah, they have some songs I like. Like I love Dead more, probably more because I like playing it on the bass. I'm Not
Yeah.
Okay is kind of fun. Their songs are fun to play on the bass. Teenagers
Hmm.
is kind of a fun track, but I never got deeply into them. But I
Yeah.
definitely respect them because they kind of did things their own way and had a great look. And their songs
Hmm.
certainly have. They're really good at writing hooks. Gerard
Oh
Way has
yeah.
done a great job of that, and that's the thing I think I like about My Chemical Romance. When you're listening to My Chemical Romance
Hmm.
song, although the hooks tend to be very much the same in many other songs, there's always a good hook in it. So,
Hmm.
and I
I
think we're a
agree. I
little too
mean,
old.
they're massive. They've got a massive fan base. They're hugely
Yeah,
successful. So they just don't resonate with me for whatever reason. And that's the
yeah,
beauty of music, isn't it? Everyone's got different tastes, and what some people like, other people don't gravitate towards so much.
yeah.
The thing that think of first and foremost when I hear My Chemical Romance is there was um, a DJ on the radio in this country who used to be obsessed with My Chemical Romance, and he had a very, very strong Irish accent. And every time I hear My Chemical Romance, I hear him saying it in My Chemical Romance, and it just
In Scottish,
that's
it'd be
all I could.
romance. I My Chemical
Yeah,
Romance.
yeah. So that's all I could ever
I
think
like
of
that.
when I hear the band name. It's funny how little things stick in your head, little
Yes,
associations.
they do.
But
All right. All I Want for Christmas Is You by My Chemical Romance from 2009. Let's give it a listen. Okay, Peter, we're back with your #2 track. What have you chosen for us
yeah,
today?
absolutely. And this was one I believe you hadn't come across before. It's by an artist called Chris Rea, and the title is "Driving Home for Christmas." And it's a lovely track. And Chris Rea's got a very, very sort of a gravelly, deep voice.
Mhm.
Um, I may be right in thinking, let me just look him up, that I think Chris Rea might be from around my neck of the woods. I think he might have been. Yes, that's right. Christopher
Middleborough,
Anton Rea.
North Riding of Yorkshire is where he was born.
Yeah,
I'm not
guitarist
familiar
from
with him. I
Middlesbrough.
don't know these songs. You'll have to put
Yeah,
together a little 10-song playlist for me of this. I didn't even know he even duetted with Elton
there you go.
John. Although he is English, yes. If You Were Me, I don't know these songs, so I'll have
Yeah,
to check this out.
but
Interesting.
he is absolutely brilliant. And again, this is one of those songs that always comes on the playlists in the super, wherever you go in Christmas season, you'll hear this one getting played in the stores and all over the place, and it's really good. And again, there's another association that I have with it. There's a classic TV comedy in this country. I don't know if you may have heard of it. It's called Gavin and Stacey.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
It stars James Corden, who these days is very, very famous your side of the pond on the Late Late Show.
I don't know very much anymore.
He's
sort
a
of, yeah. He peaked with Cats, and then it all went downhill from there. And he's one of those people that folks are kind of just over here in the United States.
Yeah, we're not massively
you can have
fond
him
of him. We're not massively fond of him over here these days.
So you don't want him back either. We'll send him to Canada.
No. We remember him quite fondly from his Gavin and Stacey days, but then he abandoned us and went off seeking fame and fortune in the glittering Hollywood. And I was always a little bit sort of money, scratching my head as to quite how he did it. He was, if you could pick any number of UK celebrities, comedians, actors, or whatever from that time period, he would have been the least likely to make it stateside. So I still sort of, how the heck did he do that? But
he was in the right place at the right time, talking to the right people, which is what I tell people when you're looking for a job. It is all about being in the right place at the right time, talking to the right people. It is not about being the most talented. And
exactly,
that just proves it. James Corden.
But his predecessor on that show, I believe, was also a Brit or a Scot. Specifically, it was Craig Ferguson, wasn't it?
Yes, and I loved Craig Ferguson.
I love him too. I think he's really, really funny guy. Really,
and a brilliant comic too. Yes.
Oh, completely. But I digress. I've gone way off topic here. But the point was that this song, Driving Home for Christmas, is always it features in the Christmas special episode of Gavin and Stacey, when it's about these two families who come together by marriage of a son and daughter, and one family lives in Wales and the other lives in Essex, sort of near London, and the Wales lot are visiting the Essex lot for Christmas, and they're going up on a coach trip, and this comes on the radio, and one of the characters just says again, I'm doing an accent here, or I'm going to try. My Welsh accent doesn't come out particularly well, but this song comes on the radio and a gravelly voice, driving home for Christmas. And this guy says, "Oh, turn it up, Dave. I love Chris Rea."
There you go.
it just makes me laugh. And that's a guy called what the heck's that? Rob Brydon. I don't know if you're familiar with Rob Brydon. He's a very, very good friend of Steve Coogan's, who you may know.
Oh, I know Steve Coogan. Yeah, no, I know him as he's been in a bunch of films. I love him in Tropic Thunder. He's excellent as the director who dies a third of the way through the film. Yes,
super talented,
and not that well known in the United States, but he plays the roles that he plays very well. So. No, I enjoy him very much. All right. So let's listen to your track. And once again, this is
Driving Home for Christmas by Chris Rea.
All right. That was number 2. For me, number 2, I picked an unusual track, but I love this track from many levels. First of all, it's the song Feliz Navidad, which is a Latin American Christmas song. And I picked the band El Vez. This came out in 2000. And what's interesting is El Vez is a Latin punk rock rockabilly band. And they started by, they meant to do this as a one-time thing to sort of mash up Latin culture and rock and roll, where they would take different songs, some of them by Elvis. He would dress up like Elvis and he would sing them all in like Spanish, but they would sort of mash them up with rock and roll. And it was supposed to be this one-time thing, and he ended up doing several albums and getting a good amount of cult following. What I love about this track is it starts out with the bass line and drums from the song Public Image by Public Image. So that that great jaw wobble bass line. and Keith Levine guitar. And right as you think it's going to go into it fully, it then goes into Feliz Navidad. And in the middle, they actually do a bridge, like an actual section of the Public Image, but instead of yelping the Public Image, they start yelling Feliz Navidad during that whole part, and it's brilliant. And then they go back to the original song, so it's catchy. It catches you off guard. In the beginning, you're like, "Why are they playing the Public Image?" And then it goes into a beautifully done version of Feliz Navidad, back to the Public Image, and closes out with that again. It is a roller coaster ride of a Christmas song that is fun for the whole family and in another language. They also do some Morrissey songs. They bring in a Joy Division song to one of their tracks, and they're not Christmas songs. Some of these are just classics, Latin American or Mexican classics. So El Vez from the Merry Xmas album.
Yeah.
Get it? Mexico, Xmas.
Absolutely brilliant.
It is 2 minutes and 34 seconds, but it is 2 minutes and 34 seconds of pure joy and roller coaster, which is why I picked this track.
I listened.
You had a chance to listen to it. What was your thought the first time you heard it? Were you like, "What the hell is this?"
No, I loved it. I mean, I'm familiar with various versions of this song. Most recent years, my wife's borderline obsession with the Michael Bublé Christmas album, which had this on. And I thought this was a tremendous version of it. Really, really enjoyed it very, very much. My funny story about the title of this song, though, is I'm a right one for mishearing lyrics.
Sure.
All the classic examples, like Jimi Hendrix, "Excuse Me While I Kiss This Guy," that sort of thing. And when I first heard this song, I didn't.
"Please on My Dog."
No, no, even worse. I turned it into something from my region, because we Geordies from Newcastle, we have a very strong accent, and we'll quite often say "me" instead of "my." So I'm going in the house for my tea. I'm going to the house for me tea, not my tea. So and what I heard was, or what I did as a joke, sort of pretended I heard was, "What's this song, Louise? Is it Police Nabbed Me Dad?"
Police knobbed me dad. I like that. So you could
they've arrested me dad.
Or if you're American, it's "Fleas on My Dog." So you can do that for "Fleas on My Dad." Yeah, "Fleas on My Dad." Yes, that would work too.
Police nabbed me dad.
Police nabbed me dad. Daddy was a bank robber. Yes, love it. All right, let's listen to "Feliz Navidad" by El Vez. That's EL space VEZE. We will, of course, post these playlists from 2000. Let us take another listen. All righty, Peter. We're back with your number 3.
And what a track as well. Also featured in the Christmas special of Gavin and Stacey, which I mentioned for the number 2 song. I got to go watch that later now, because it's time.
I was going to say, I think it's now in your subconscious, and will bother you until you do.
Yeah, and this could be my favorite Christmas record ever. It's Do They Know It's Christmas, the original 1984 Band Aid version. Bob Geldof, Midge, the brains behind this, and they pulled together a veritable plethora of talent in 1984 to record this track to benefit the famine in Ethiopia, and that ultimately led up to Live Aid in 1985, of course, as well. And the talent they got for it, I mean, they had Bono on there, they had
let me tell you, I was at the right age. So I remember the first time I hear it, and opening Paul Young, which that really helped to solidify him as a star around the world and really gave him an opening. He had a lot of hits after that. Yes, Simon Le Bon. You had Bono. Thank God it's them. Sting. Boy George, who does a great job on that one. You have, we were just chatting about him from Wham! George Michael. Is in there. You had Marilyn, who was kind of a Boy George-esque sort of singer. Phil Collins on the drums. You had Midge from Ultravox, who co-wrote and co-produced that with with the folks who did it. No, it's a tremendous track, and I remember the first time I heard it, I loved it as a song. It's a little rough when they do the line, "Thank God it's them instead of you." I mean, first time you hear that, you're like, "Ooh, that's a little."
Bono didn't want to sing it. He really objected to it.
Really?
Yeah, there's a good documentary about the filming of it. It's probably on YouTube. You can probably find it. But there's
I
some
will
great
find it.
stories about the filming of it, and they filmed it very, very early on a Sunday morning.
Yeah,
And that was one of the things that Bono did not want to sing that line. He was very, very nervous about it.
yeah, I can imagine.
But then the other,
It's a rough, very judgmental line.
it is very much so, very harsh, but it hits home. It tells
Yeah.
you, it
No,
gets
it
the
does.
message across. The other thing, though, was Boy George was one of the opening lines of the song.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
and on
in
that
our
Sunday
world
morning,
of plenty, we will bring a smile
that's
of joy. Yes.
exactly. And he turned up. He turned up late. They were worried that he wasn't going to show up to record his lines in the studio.
Really?
And then he turned up, and he was apparently really hungover. In quite a state, and they thought, is he going to be able to do this? And then he
Yeah.
just sang like an angel. So
He
there
did.
you go.
Yeah. I'd like to watch it because I'd like to understand why they picked Paul Young to go first. I mean, I love it. I love his voice, but I'm curious as he was one of the lesser known stars at that time, where Sting and Simon Le Bon and George Michael and so many of those folks were much more well known. Why they chose him to kick that off. So I'm kind of
It's a
interested.
good question. I can't remember if there was any reasoning behind the pecking order. And there were some folks who got lesser time in there. I mean, I think the Spandau Ballet guys were in there a bit later on, maybe. I think there was some of the Bananarama, the girl group
Bananarama was there, yeah.
well.
I mean, it really was the all-star who's who and of later, of Live Aid and of all of that. But that was what really kicked everything off. And I was at the right age. I was, a senior in high school, freshman in college when that came out. I bought the single. I played it till it was, wouldn't play anymore. The Phil Collins drums in the back and the mid-year, synth going through it. It's a beautiful song. And then they remade it a few years ago, and I did with a bunch of new pop stars. And I'm going to be old and crotchety and say I didn't like it, but I didn't know all the folks in it. But if that's a way to get other folks to take a look at the stuff and do it, then hey, more power to you.
There's been a few versions of it now for sure. But Bananarama, it's just made me think of Bananarama. Makes me think of Fun Boy 3.
Fun Boy 3, yes, because they were part of that band in the original version of We've Got the Beat. Yes,
which makes me
who
think
just died.
Terry Hall, who just passed away a few days ago.
Just passed away this week.
I just learned that this week, today actually, as we record this. I was really upset to see that because I got a couple of vinyl singles here in my little shed. I've got Fun Boy 3, The Lunatics Have Taken Over the Asylum, which is such a great track.
They also did the original of We Got the Beat was right. Can you hear that? Yeah. No, Our Lips Are Sealed. Sorry, Our Lips Are Sealed, which they did the original, which the Go-Go's covered, which was Fun Boy 3 plus the girls from Bananarama before they shut out. And of course, Really Saying Something, which was a big track for Fun Boy 3 as well.
Oh, that was such a good one. Yeah, I love that. My other vinyl is the Specials Ghost Town, which I played just today in honor of Terry. So rest in peace, Terry Hall.
Yes.
Much loved and will be long remembered.
I think maybe we should do a Specials and general public and English beat show since they're all intertwined on so many levels. That could be really fun at British.
Yeah, definitely.
Founding the two-tone, the old two-tone label and a two-tone show. Okay. Anything else about Do They Know It's Christmas for folks who may be not familiar with the original you want to add before we listen to it?
Only that if you haven't heard it, please do go and check it out. It's a beautiful. Do you know? Wait a second. How did I forget this? 1 second. I've got it. I've got it on.
You do?
Yeah.
On vinyl?
I do. How did I forget this? It's in this pile of vinyl. Let me get it out for those of you watching on. Here it is. Oh, for those of you watching on YouTube, if you are listening on Spotify, well, actually, you can watch us.
You are missing out if you're just listening on Spotify because you are not going to see the vinyl that is.
There it is.
They Know It's Christmas Band-Aid. Wow.
And
is it colored vinyl or is it just regular black vinyl? And what was the B-side? The B-side was all of them talking and having quotes about what's going on in the world.
It's just called Feed the World, and it is just them
Feed
talking.
the World, that's right. Yeah, and it's just them talking and wishing everybody a Merry Christmas and the picture on the back. There you go.
On the back, you've got everyone who collaborated in it, and then sort of a chart of who's who with the list. So,
as if you needed a chart to tell you, unless you were American, because you wouldn't have known Marilyn and a few of the other folks. But
yeah.
Awesome.
But I really love that. And here is the actual record, just a plain black one. So there's your
Beautiful.
your
Very
A
nice.
side.
That is definitely worth something. So keep that in good shape.
Oh, certainly. It's lasted really well because I mean, I bought it when it came out in 1984 when I would have been 12.
Yeah, I
So
was
there you go.
I was in freshman year in college when that came out, that Christmas, and like I said, I was at the perfect age. All right,
Yeah,
let us listen
absolutely.
to "Do They Know It's Christmas,"
By Band-Aid.
penned by mid-year Mr. Bob Geldof. Who else wrote that? Is it on the song on the label itself? Who else wrote that? Sure,
Let's
we could
have
look it up, but it's probably there.
a wee look. By Polygram, official Band-Aid. Many thanks to all the fine artists who donated their time and effort. It doesn't say on the sleeve, no, so we'd have to look that up. We can do that.
All right, I will look it up while we play it.
Yeah.
Let's do that. So why don't you kick it off and take us into the song, and I will find out who wrote it.
So yeah, so this is the wonderful Do They Know It's Christmas, the original and the best, the 1984 version by Band-Aid.
All right, and we're back, and I was correct. It is Bob Geldof and Midge Ure wrote "Do They Know It's Christmas." So, and that was what I thought, and that is absolutely correct.
And before we move on, I've also found a couple more. Here's the Fun Boy 3. The Lunatics have taken over the Asylum.
Nice.
And a nice little vinyl. And if you look closely enough there, it's actually got my name written on it at the top. Because
did you lend it to somebody and wanted to get it back?
No, I took it to the school disco, and I wanted to make sure it didn't get lost. So,
yes. Oh, there you go.
So there you go. That's that one.
That's awesome. These are worth a ton. So these are awesome.
And here's my, not in such good condition, my specials, Ghost Town.
Oh, very nice. On the two-tone label. There it is. That's awesome.
There we go. So
jealous. Very jealous.
Cool stuff.
All right. On to my number 3. I am, and this is well known for people who know me, a huge fan of the Cocteau Twins. I was lucky enough to see them not once but twice. I saw them on the Heaven or Las Vegas tour. I saw them on the Violin, 3 Calendar Cafe tour, and and I had been a big fan for a long time. I remember the first time I went to the UK back when I was in college. I remember picking up the album that had Lorelei and Flagstones on it and Pink Orange Apple, and just fell in love with it. I remember hearing it on BBC One while I was there and became a huge fan. For many years, the Bluebell Noel album was a favorite of mine to put on while we were trimming the Christmas tree because it has a very Christmassy sort of feel to it. But and I'll talk about the song in a moment, but one of those moments in my life, and I encourage you, if you're at a concert and it's something you've always wanted to see or a band you really love, during one of their songs, just close your eyes. And one of the things about the Cocteau Twins live that you don't get on record is Elizabeth Fraser's vocals are almost scat-like at times. And she, when they were live, made sounds and with her voice that I've never, ever heard before. That just went through me. And it was great because the first time I saw him, it was just her and Robin looked like he had just gotten out of bed and another guitarist. The second time I saw them, they actually had a drummer and a full synth setup. But it was just amazing to watch. And it was great because there was a guy next to me on one side that had a full mohawk and a guy next to me that was obviously like just come from work with a shirt and a tie. And the fact that the Cocteau Twins was equally loved at one point, I remember looking and the whole audience was just swaying back and forth to the music. All of these different people from all of these different walks of life, different everything. We all came together when it came to the Cocteau Twins and just sat there and swayed. And it was music that was as much meant to be heard as it was to be felt. You could feel it going through you. And it was very spiritual moment, and one unfortunately I don't think we'll ever see again. I don't think the Cocteau Twins are ever going to get back together. Elizabeth just released her first song in many years. She did a project with somebody else. Robin has done a bunch of stuff with a variety of people, from Brian Eno to Dave Byrne to stuff on his own. But in 1991, they decided to do a Christmas song. They did Frosty the Snowman. And what I love about this is it is truly Cocteau Twins. It has that beautiful high guitar and the pulsing underneath, and Elizabeth's voice just sort of flowing through it, just like snow. It's just gorgeous. They also did Walking in a Winter Wonderland, but I don't like that one as much as Frosty because the Frosty is more Cocteau Twins y. Um, uh, on many levels, and you can definitely hear Evo's production in it. But it is one of those songs that when you close your eyes, you hear you see snow, you feel Christmas, and you feel just not what Christmas is, but the emotions that the holiday season and winter brings. And that's why I love this track and how it sounds, because it is, for lack of a better word, very three-dimensional. So I picked Elizabeth Fraser and Roger Guthrie's doing Frosty the Snowman, which was off their 1991 box set. I think it might have been released in the UK maybe as a flexi pop single or something like that. I don't quite know the whole history behind it. I didn't have a chance to look it up, but I love it. It has been put out on several different albums, and I think it's just one of the most beautiful Christmas songs ever sung. It would be number one or number two on my list. Are you a Cocteau Twins fan at all, Peter?
Oh, I'm a fan of this particular song. I couldn't speak to much beyond that. I was aware of this song by them, this version, and I really enjoy it. And it was nice to listen to it again when I went through your playlist before recording this today. And no, I agree completely with what you said. I think it's absolutely tremendous. It just makes you feel Christmassy. It just there's nothing you could object to about this song at all. It can't fail to bring a smile to your face if you're not feeling in the Christmas spirit yet. And sometimes you get years where it gets later into December and you'll say to your other half or whoever, do you know, I'm not feeling Christmassy just yet. If you stick this on, you soon will.
Absolutely. I will recommend that, and check out the album, and I'll send you a playlist, Peter. The album Bluebell Knoll, and the first two tracks are amazing. Carolyn's Fingers is beautiful, and what I love about that track is it makes circles, but every time it comes around, they add another layer, and the song gets thicker and thicker until it gets to this beautiful lilting guitar riff. But the original Shoegazers on many levels, but meant most of their songs very upbeat rather than downbeat, which we saw with a lot of Shoegazer stuff. So all right, let's take a listen to the Cocteau Twins, I believe named after Jean Cocteau, the filmmaker. I will, again, have to look it up because I'd love to do a Cocteau Twins show and introduce those who are not familiar with it to it. There are also several other great podcasts. I can't think of the name of them, but there's one that two women do, and they kind of go through the whole history of a band, and they did a great show on the Cocteau Twins. It's like 3 or 4 hours long, the podcast, but it's amazing. I'll find the name of it. We'll post it in the notes, but Frosty the Snowman by the Cocteau Twins, 1991. All right, Peter, we're at your number 4.
Number 4, and this is one I absolutely love, and it's 2,000 Miles by Pretenders. And we were just talking about this before we came on the air, because I was looking up Chrissie Hynde just to find out a bit more about her. And I immediately learned something about Chrissie Hynde that I hadn't realized as a 50-year-old man. I was today years old, as the phrase goes, when I learned that Chrissie Hynde is not English. She is actually from your side of the pond.
She is from Akron, Ohio, the same town that one of my other songs come from, and Devo comes from. She is an Ohio girl. I went back to Ohio, and my city is gone. Early in her life, she was trying to start some bands and stuff in the UK, couldn't do it. She moved to the UK, spent every dime she had, and ended up hanging out with members of The Clash, who introduced her to Ray Davies. Ray Davies gave her a song, Stop Your Sobbing. She found some great British artists, including James Honeyman Scott and, her drummer, I can't think of his name right now, Martin Chambers, and did the Pretenders. She actually was with Ray for a long time. She later on was married to the lead singer of Simple Minds, who is Peter?
Jim Kerr.
Jim Kerr, yes. And has very much been the front of it. And I really think one of the original, just badass front women of rock and roll and music, and completely unapologetic with just the heavy raccoon eye makeup, often wearing just a vest and a pair of jeans and playing guitar and just getting out there, a la Joan Jett and so many other really, really strong women players. But a great writer. The song itself is beautiful. It's an Christmas song. It wasn't not done, but it is about Christmas. And it came at the end of their oh God, I can't think. I'm looking at the cover of the album and I can't think of the name of it. So give me a moment and I will get to it. Do you remember what album this was from? It's the same one that had Middle of the Road.
I do not
I'll
actually
look it up.
know, but
So go ahead and talk about the song and why you picked it.
well, I was just a general. As growing up, I was a big fan of the Pretenders in general, and they were on. I used to watch Top of the Pops religiously on BBC One every Thursday night when I was growing up, and they were on so much. It seemed like they were never off Top of the Pops with various other hits like now I'm going to test myself here. What's some really obvious ones, but my mind has gone really blank. It's going to really annoy me. Because there was one that was covered for comic relief here by a girl band called Girls Aloud. I'll stand by you. That's it.
Oh yeah, Stand By You. Yeah. That was on
track.
that wasn't on this album. That's on the next album. That wasn't on Learning to Crawl. That's on the album Get Close, which she also does Room Full of Mirrors. The Jimi Hendrix song. What's interesting, and I didn't know this about this album, was Graham Parker's bass player Andrew Bonin and Paul Carrick from Squeeze and Roxy Music plays guitar, bass, and piano on Thin Line Between Love and Hate, which is a brilliant song on this. And this album is very much about her. There's a lot of songs about women leaving their men. The song Thumbelina, which over the years has become even more countrified, but it's just an amazing song with a phenomenal Martin Chambers beat. My City Was Gone, about her going back to Ohio, coming from England, it looking dramatically different, back on the Chain Gang. Time the Avenger.
The Chain Gang,
great.
Love it.
Show Me, Watching the Clothes Go By. Thumbelina, which is, like I said, one of my favorites. It's about her just picking up her kid and going. I'm done. Thin Line Between Love and Hate, I Hurt You, and 2,000 Miles. It's a brilliant, brilliant album. It is by almost every critic a 4 or 5 star album. And it was very much the transition album for the Pretenders. I'm a big Pretenders, fan. Pretenders 1, I'd say Pretenders 1 is one of those almost nearly perfect albums. The first Pretenders album from beginning to end is just a brilliant album. Pretenders 2 has its moments. It's a little bit of a rough sophomore opening, but you have on the first album Precious, The Phone Call Up the Neck, Tattooed Love Boys, The Wait, Stop Your Sobbing, Kid, Private Life, Brass in Pocket, Lovers of Today, Mystery. It's a brilliant, brilliant album, and there's not a bad track on it. But this is a really great album, and it's a great song, and it's an Christmassy song until you get towards the end where you hear her talk about Christmas Day. So I love it.
Yeah.
Why do you love this song? What is it about it that this really speaks to you?
I love it because exactly what you just said there, because it is it's sort of become an adopted Christmas song, an unchristmassy Christmas song from that point of view. It doesn't necessarily sound Christmassy, but then the message comes through. Because it's not in your face Christmas, is it? It's more subtle, and it's got a lot of. I like a bit of drama in a song sometimes, and this has got heaps of drama. I love that about this track. It just tugs at the heartstrings. If you really listen to the lyrics and the melody, it can get you very, very emotional. And I like songs that do that to you, that get you in the feels. So that's what it was all about for me. So it had to be on the list when I was starting to put this together. Had to be on there somewhere.
Perfect. All right. Well, let's listen to 2,000 Miles by the Pretenders.
Let's do it.
All right. My track number 4, Merry Christmas, I Don't Want to Fight Tonight by the Ramones, which was later re-released on his 2002 solo record, on Joey Ramone's solo record. Did it as a slow 50s ballad on his album Christmas Spirit in My House, which does, by the way, have an amazing cover of the Louis Armstrong song, What a Wonderful World. And it is beautiful and gorgeous and rock and roll, but the original version of this, Merry Christmas, I Don't Want to Fight Tonight, is phenomenal. It's Joey Ramone, it's the Ramones, singing and playing at their best. It's a Ramones track, but it sticks in your head. It's catchy, it's short, it's 50s punk rock with a snarling vocal, but it is a beautiful song about just going, hey, it's Christmas. Let's not fight. Let's just be there together and enjoy the evening, as only the Ramones in their punk rock, Converse footed, leather jacket clad glory could do. Any thoughts on this track before we listen to it, Peter?
Oh, I love it. I really enjoyed listening to this one again. It's not one I'd heard for a very, very long time, and I would describe myself as a Ramones appreciator, not necessarily a big fan,
Okay.
as I seem to be with a lot of some of your, which is the whole point of this show, because we're
Right.
learning a deeper knowledge about some artists that I maybe had just a casual awareness of. But for the Ramones, a track that I really, really hear a lot is Blitzkrieg Bop.
Sure. Blitzkrieg Pop. I Want to Be Sedated. A lot of those were the more popular ones, but there's some great deeper tracks. Bonzo Goes to Bitburg. The KKK Took My Baby Away. Just so many great songs. And the thing is until they got into the mid 80s, they never did a guitar solo on a song until they did Poison Heart, which was for a Stephen King movie. I want to say, Pet Sematary was for a Stephen King movie, but Poison Heart was the first song they ever did a guitar solo in. And it's a pretty minimal one, but that's the thing, is they never did guitar solos. So, and they're the only band I know that could do a greatest hits album with 50 songs on it, because their songs were 2.5 to 3 minutes long, every song. So they could rip through it. They're live. I would love to see the set list from their live shows, because it had to be like 2-3 pages, because their songs were short, in your face, and always started with the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they just went into it. But every song had its own unique sound and feel. So I love the Ramones. CBGB's New York. Amazing stuff.
Yeah, this is a great track, though. I really enjoy listening to it. So let's take a listen to it now. And do you want to introduce your song for us, Stephen?
Yeah, Merry Christmas. I Don't Want to Fight Tonight by the Ramones, 1989. Here we go. All right, we're at number 5, and it looks like, Peter, I think this is going to become a 2-part show. So I think after I do my number 5 and yours, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll do part 2 for folks. So that
sounds like a good
folks
plan,
who are driving or listening or getting near the end of your trip, you only have one more song from each of us, and then maybe break and listen.
Maybe you're driving home for Christmas.
Yes, absolutely. All right, what is your number 5?
Number 5 is Happy Christmas, War is Over by the amazing John Lennon and Yoko Ono.
Yes.
And I love this track so much. The message given to us in the lyrics and the music by John and Yoko is so powerful. It's and I can't help but think, when you listen to anything by John and Yoko from this time period, not that long before he was sadly taken from the world, is how disappointed he would have been today, how little has changed in many ways. It hits you in the feels a bit when you think about it, and what kind of a man he would have been today, how he would have changed and grown and developed, and where he'd be right now. But yeah, the message is really powerful. There's been cover versions of this one for sure. I know you've heard a few. You mentioned a few.
Yeah, The Alarm has a great version of it. There's a lot of really good covers, but I don't think that any of them really have the gravitas or the heart and soul that the original has, no matter who has recorded it or done it over the years. It's a beautiful, beautiful song, and it's done as I agree, as only John Lennon could have done it from his point of view, and bringing that together. So
it's just special. There's something uniquely special about John Lennon. He was a complete one-off.
No, I agree. I had the luck of being in the Netherlands a few years ago when it was the 50th anniversary of his bed-in, and I was actually staying in the same hotel that the bed-in happened. And what was great was they brought all the photographers together. They were showing their art downstairs. I walked in and I got to meet some of the photographers who had shot that bed-in. They're in, I think he did one in Montreal and one in Amsterdam. So I had a chance to do that. And recently I met Jan Werner, the founder of Rolling Stone magazine. I had a chance to interview him for Microsoft, and we talked about his relationship with John Lennon. He was for many years very close to him. He was the first person to be on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine, and we talked about their relationship. And it was anytime you get a peek into that person from someone who knew them, it's always very special.
Amazing. Yeah, you were kind enough to share that interview with me, and I really enjoyed it. You did a great job, as you always do, my friend. So kudos to you for that. And it was so nice to hear his stories. I learned so much. So
yeah,
amazing.
All right. So why don't you walk us into this one, Peter?
Yeah, here we go. Very special track by a very special man and woman, John Lennon and Yoko Ono. Happy Christmas. Open brackets, war is over, close brackets. Here it is.
Awesome. All right. We are now at my number 5, and this will be the last song for part 1. This is probably the longest song that any of us have clocking in at a little over 7 minutes. This is Brian Setzer doing the Nutcracker Suite, and I have a personal connection with this. My brother-in-law played with Brian Setzer. Brian Setzer, best known for being in the Stray Cats and being the guitarist, but he started the Brian Setzer Orchestra and was doing a lot of 40 stuff. He did Jump, Jive, and Wail and really cool remakes of old rockabilly hits and things like that with a Big Bang Swing. He did, like I said, Jump, Jive, and Wail was a big one. It actually got used in some TV commercials and stuff. But he decided to do a Christmas album. By the way, what's interesting first is he won a Grammy for his cover of Sleepwalk, the old Santo and Johnny song, and does a beautiful version of it when he does it live, does it amazingly. And he won a Grammy for that and thought, oh, wow, I should do some more instrumentals. So he decided he would do a Christmas tour. My brother-in-law played saxophone and flute on that tour and traveled with him all over the world and was with him for about 8 years of Christmas tours. My wife went. Actually, what's funny is before my wife and I were together, we both went to his concert. I took a date. My wife went with her sister because it's her sister's husband. So we were both at the same event, but with different people before we actually got together. So
wow, that's amazing.
Likes to laugh. It was the right concert with the wrong person.
Yeah.
But he did. This was actually done originally. The arrangement is in the 40s. It's a kind of a medley of the Nutcracker Suite tunes. And Brian updated it and adds a beautiful guitar aspect to it and a nice kind of cool guitar solo at the end and really brings it together. And they play this live just as beautifully as they do on record. And it's really great to hear this modern update of Tchaikovsky classical brought into kind of a rockabilly jazz rock era. So I love it. It's a great track. It's certainly one as you're doing the Christmas tree or, lighting the Hanukkah candles or whatever it is you do this time of year. That is a great song. That's not a religious song in any way, shape, or form, but really is representative of the holiday season. And I absolutely love it. And it's one of my wife's all-time favorites too. So I get to put a song that she loves in here too. So the Brian Setzer Orchestra with Nutcracker Suite. Had you heard this before?
I had not
on my playlist.
I had not heard it before, but I absolutely lapped it up when I played it. I had a quick sort of play through I didn't listen to every song on the playlist all the way through. I just wanted to get a feel for the playlist. This was the only one that I listened to start
beginning to end
because I couldn't stop. It was just so great, and it's just so many different layers to it. It's just amazing.
He does little parts of the full suite from Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairies to, all of those sort of all the way through and ends it really beautifully. So, yeah, I'm glad. The whole album is really great, but this one especially I think really stands out. And I could not see myself doing a Christmas list without tipping the hat to Brian Setzer, the founder of the Stray Cats and later the Brian Setzer Orchestra. He's also done some good stuff with members of Social Distortion. He's done, he worked with Lemmy on some projects. He's really been and is responsible for the resuscitation of the rockabilly movement back in the 80s and the 90s and keeping it alive. But great to see him go in a completely different direction with this. So Nutcracker Suite by Brian Setzer from 2002 is my 5th track. So let's listen to that. We'll come back. We'll close out part 1 and we'll start part 2. Here we go. All right. 7 minutes and 13 seconds later, here we are. So this is a longer show because I think we have a lot more to offer on it, but hopefully you're all enjoying it and we'll make this part of your Christmas listening. So we're going to end part 1 And we're going to go to part 2, where Peter will kick off with his number 6. Any final thoughts, Peter, before we go to our second part of the episode?
Only that I'm having a holly jolly Christmas.
Perfect. I love it. All right, everybody, we'll see you back here for part 2.
Catch you later.
Welcome to 10 Songs, where each week we dive into the connections to the music that you love, from cover versions and little-known gems to those tracks you just skipped over. We'll show you the common thread across the music you love today and help you find a new favorite with just 10 songs.